Blessed to be with you. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Coming up this hour, believe it or not, Chernobyl has become a major tourist attraction. Why? Well, because of the HBO miniseries Chernobyl. Thinking about that, what would be the weirdest place that you've ever gone to visit? Plus, we have bankers after Senator Crapo. We'll get your calls on that as well. Joining us now is author Steve King to talk a little bit about faith, family, and freedom. Author, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, you got a little trouble there. Beware the slow leaks. 8 ways ministry leaders can thrive and finish strong. Mr. King, good morning.
Good morning. Good to talk to you today.
Well, let me apologize, Pastor King. So, Pastor King, let's talk a little bit about where we are spiritually in America today.
Well, we're at a crisis point, that's for sure. We have a culture that is moving rapidly away from its biblical foundations. But I'm an optimist. I see it as a great opportunity to step up and be the church.
Well, how can we be the church in the face of these overwhelming odds when you look of all the secular humanism, the promotion of decadence? It's a crazy world for parents, grandparents, and obviously people of faith, sir.
I completely agree, but there's nothing new under the sun, and the church was birthed in a pagan culture, and nothing has changed. It's our opportunity to be salt and light in a dark world.
Boy, we need that now more than ever. So your book, Beware the Slow Leaks, 8 Ways Ministry Leaders Can Thrive and Finish Strong. Let's just kind of look at some of the names of your chapters here. Let the grace of God instruct you. What do you mean by that, sir?
I grew up, of course, as a Christian, believing in the grace of God, and I had the concept that it was primarily to help me get into the kingdom, and God will forgive me and restore me. The other side of grace is that there's a discipline to it. There's a severity to it, and it instructs us. And ministry leaders will not finish strong unless they face the reality of being instructed by grace every day. Titus tells us, it tells us to deny ungodliness and to pursue righteousness and justice and hope. So in that chapter, I talk about the 5 warning passages in Hebrews and the danger of drifting slowly away, and how God in his grace will relentlessly pursue us to push us back where we need to be.
What do you say to people that have left the faith and, are saying, Kevin Miller, you do a political show. Why do you have a pastor on? What would you say to them?
I would say pastors have a voice in the culture, and it's one that needs to be heard because they would bring a couple of things to bear. A pastor's heart, truth from God's word, and the gospel of Jesus Christ that gives hope to everyone.
Speaking of giving hope, Chapter 8, Don't Lose Heart. In the state of Idaho, perhaps in Virginia, Pastor King, where you are, suicide at an all-time high. What do you say to someone that, is having trouble? Maybe they don't feel loved. Maybe they feel alone, and they're surrounded by tons of people. What do you say about not losing heart?
Well, that I face a lot of people who lose heart. I could book my schedule full every day with counseling. And what I say to them is, I'm tempted to lose heart, and I found hope in Jesus Christ. I found hope in God's word. I found great hope in God's people, a community of people that walk together to give each other hope. And that Don't Lose Heart chapter, I talk about 5 dark horses that every single ministry leader will face without exception, and learning how to deal with those big 5 that are doubt, discouragement, past failures, comparisons. We need to know how to deal with those. And Jesus tells us exactly how to do it.
Well, he's with us through it all, but we go back to this issue of losing heart, losing faith, and this. It's incredible that we live in such a blessed nation, and you have so many people that are killing themselves.
Yes, yeah, and they do it because they've lost all hope. They believe that's their only option, and since we are salt and light, and we have a living hope in Jesus Christ, and every life is sacred, I see this as a great opportunity to seize it, to point people to the ultimate hope.
You're listening to KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Beware the slow leaks. Pastor King with us, Steve King. Final question, Chapter 3, Align Your Life.
Yes. That is about aligning your life with where God says he is working. And one particular area, Jesus said, I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not prevail against it. So we know God is working through his church. The trouble is we don't go to Scripture and define what a healthy church is and make that our definition and build our lives around it. But when we do, and we align ourselves with it, we can be absolutely assured we're in alignment with where God is working. And after 42 years of pastoring local churches, I'm convinced that the hope of the world is the local church that's gospel-centered and biblically healthy.
Now, you've been married for over 45 years, is that right?
Yeah, last Sunday it was 46 years with my sweetheart Maybelle.
What's the secret?
I think it's not so much a secret as some truths, and I'll give an analogy, and this has proven true for us for 46 years. I used to live in Oregon before I moved to Arlington, Virginia. And before I moved, I took my oldest son deep-sea fishing. We went to Depot Bay. It's known as the world's smallest harbor.
Know it well.
We chased, yes, and we chased whales, caught salmon. Coming back in, the captain of the boat stopped the boat, pointed out a storm was coming, strong cross currents, narrow entrance, crashed boat on the rocks. And he said, the only way we'll make it in alive is if I line this boat up with the 3 buoys before us so it looks like one buoy. There are a lot of people that seek to enter the harbor of marital intimacy, and they crash. And what God has done is put 3 buoys in the water, 3 wise decisions. And if you follow those every day, you will enter the harbor of marital intimacy. And so that chapter is about those 3 wise decisions and how to implement them in a practical way and how to get help on your marriage.
Pastor Steve King, beware the slow leaks. Thank you for making your time for us today.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for having me. God bless you, Kevin.
God bless you. Idaho's pretty good. I mean, we rarely lose people to the East Coast. Usually they come here.
I'm a missionary to the East Coast. I used to live in Portland, and Idaho is absolutely beautiful.
Take care, sir. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Liberty Linda joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberty Linda.
Good morning, Kevin. Kevin, you always say what I feel. With this young girl, what a horrible thing it is to just throw your own baby away. It doesn't surprise me, though, with what's being taught in our schools today. However, she was very young, and, hopefully someday her child may grow up and she may see the child as a grown woman and realize that she tried to throw that person's life away. So, yes, we absolutely need to pray for the young girl and the baby, because I think she's so young she didn't really know what she was doing. So anyway, thank you for bringing this up this morning.
Well, and for people that aren't aware, a 15-year-old in Stockton, California is being charged with endangerment and abuse of a newborn because the newborn was found in a dumpster. She was found to have given birth to the newborn. And thankfully, to Good Samaritans, to heroes, that little baby is going to live. But who in their right mind would throw a newborn baby into a dumpster?
It's unbelievable. And that person was a savior to that baby. Yeah. And, we appreciate him so much that he did the right thing in saving that little child. And hope the child will be all right. And the young girl, that she will learn from this experience. It was murder. I mean, it didn't happen. I mean, the baby didn't die, but we can feel for both. And yes, thank you for saying let's have prayers for her as well, because she needs to learn. And hopefully she will through this. And then, I just wanted to make a comment, about our wonderful president. If nobody knows, it's President Trump is our president. And, as far as I can see, he's still so far out front of all the Dems because, Kevin, he has common sense. And he gets what's done in this nation. He is not only a great president, he is a good businessman, and he uses that to help him be a great president. He does the things that we need to have done. There's one thing he hasn't done. He has not totally closed the border. But common sense and his business mind makes a great president. That's what I believe, and that's what he has. And he has heart. So I wanted to say that this morning. He has all those things, plus he has heart for the people of the United States. So those three things, I think, will make him, again, a great president in this next election. So that's basically what I say. And hello to your mother. She is a lovely person, and your father. And keep up the good work, Kevin.
God bless, Liberty Linda. Thank you.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Coming up next, would you vacation in Chernobyl? Apparently a lot of people are. Plus, bankers are after Senator Crapo. They want him, to do some stuff with weed. We'll tell you about that next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you, Sean Hannity. By the way, if you're looking for tickets to the Boise Music Festival, today on Overland, we will be there at the Boise Tech Mall. We appreciate you joining us. Our great friends at Computer Central, our great friend Phil, will be there from 2 to 4, right down on Overland. You can't miss it. It's going to be a great time. If you're looking for, help with your computers, custom-built gaming rigs, the world's lightest 4K 17-inch laptop, small business IT support. Phil and the folks at the Boise Tech Mall, Computer Central, they've always been fans of this program, and we always appreciate, they're sponsoring our Boise Music Festival ticket giveaway. That's from 2 to 4 today on Overland, and look forward to seeing you there at the Boise Tech Mall, Computer Central. They've even got a Bitcoin ATM. I tell you, that is something. So are you looking to get away and maybe Salt Lake, maybe Seattle isn't enough for you? Many people in talk radio and throughout the country, including myself, we've been raving about the HBO miniseries Chernobyl. You remember Chernobyl back in 1986. We had the worst disaster ever before that Japanese disaster. Well, now people are going to Chernobyl. In fact, I did approach Mrs. Miller and I said, dude, I want to go there. And sadly, the kibosh was put on it. But the idea of going to this place of such human suffering, this place of this disaster, because of the popularity of this miniseries, you have many people going there despite the higher than normal radiation numbers from the 1986 site in the Ukraine. The Ukraine is actually marketing this. They've had a ton of visitors coming in wanting to take a day trip to visit the site. Now, you can't touch anything. They suggest you wear long sleeves. And who really wants to take home souvenirs from Chernobyl? But despite those safety precautions, people say that Chernobyl is safer than you think. Now, how much does it cost? One-day trip between $90 and $100. Of course, remember that crazy, wacky, zany movie, The Chernobyl Diaries, where you had all the creatures coming out at night? Anyway, Chernobyl. Wow. Which begs the question, the craziest, wildest place that you've ever wanted to visit. Think about that for a moment. KIDO Talk Radio, traffic and weather together. Our time is 8:24 with Kevin Miller in the morning. Hello, Dave. And I'm Kevin Miller in the morning. Think about that, the weirdest place that you've ever visited or would like to visit. I don't know about that. I would go to Chernobyl. I'd go to Chernobyl in a heartbeat. Tea Party Bob joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. Just a couple of words about this issue with Senator Crapo and the banks not wanting to make transactions for people that are in the marijuana business. It's the same thing as people who are in the gun business. If you remember back in 2008, it was the people of the United States, the taxpayers, who bailed out all of these bloodied banks who are so high and mighty all the time. And it cost a fortune. All of these banks are insured by the people of the United States through the FDIC. And if that's the case, they should not have the ability to pick and choose who they're going to do business with and who they're not going to do business with. If a person is a taxpayer, if a corporation is a taxpayer, and they have a legitimate business, they have no reason to say they're not going to do the transactions for them. That's about all I have to say about this. And they should allow them to deal with whomever comes into their office that has a legitimate business.
So you're saying that the marijuana people are legitimate business people?
And they do the same thing to the gun people. They do exactly the same thing. Guns or marijuana, it doesn't matter.
It does.
We insure them.
It does matter.
Not.
It does.
It does not matter.
You does
are wrong 100%.
Well, you can yell at me, or we can have a conversation. Which do you prefer?
You tell me why they're wrong. Why, if it's legal in that state to use marijuana and to sell it, that it's wrong.
Banks are regulated by whom?
The FDIC, the Federal Insurance Deposit Corporation.
Sure.
Who pays for the Federal Insurance Deposit Corporation?
The federal government.
Excuse me, it's our federal taxpayer money.
And you have a big issue with marijuana being against the law.
You have a big issue with the gun people too. Do you think it's okay?
The gun people are protected by the gun people are protected by the Second Amendment, and if that business does not want to do business with guns, look, the federal government should look into that. However, you're comparing apples to oranges. And the senators...
It's not apples and it's not oranges.
It is apples and oranges.
It's the same apple grove that we have every place. If we pay for these people to be insured, they need to do business with anybody who has a legit business.
What do you say? What do you say to people in law enforcement and educators and drug rehab people that say legalizing marijuana is a horrible idea?
What do you say about people who don't like guns?
I'm not talking about that. Answer that question.
Oh, you're not. You're talking
I asked you a specific question.
I tell them that it is a legal right, and if they have a legal right to do things, so do the other people.
A legal right? There is no legal right for marijuana.
Horse manure, it's been legalized in many states.
Yeah. There were a lot of things that were there were a lot of things that were legal in states that were shut down by the government. Which is it?
Look, I think you're just arguing something that you don't really get.
No, I do get it.
I was in the banking business for almost 40 years.
You know, look at all the chemicals that are in marijuana that cause cancer.
I don't care. It's the same thing with guns.
So we just make up the rules. The argument does not make sense.
The argument does make sense. It makes more sense than most people believe. I don't like marijuana any more than you do. By the same token, the law should be applied equally. It should not be discriminatory when you're using taxpayer money.
Where are the federal and state laws that prohibit the Second Amendment?
There are no state laws that prohibit
There are state and federal laws that prohibit selling marijuana and making money off it.
Yes, indeed. If they want to prohibit it in most states, fine. I don't care. But almost all of the states have medicinal marijuana, and they have medicinal CBD oil that's available. I know of at least 17 right now. There's probably more like 25.
Well, that doesn't make it right.
Of course it doesn't make it right, but you have to have equalization someplace. This is a matter of fairness. If they pay taxes and their money's being used to guarantee these banks, then they should have the right to use the facilities.
Duly noted.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. You have a great day.
You too. Coming up next, the banks pressure Senator Crapo. You just heard from an impassioned Tea Party Bob comparing the bank's discriminatory practices against the gun industry. Well, if they can discriminate against guns, what about marijuana? Do you buy the argument? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. And don't forget, today we'll be at the Boise Tech Mall from 2 to 4, giving away tickets to the Boise Music Festival. You can catch Pitbull and the Eli Young Band, Tone Loc, Color Me Bad. Check out the carnival, all for free. Stop by our great friends at the Boise Tech Mall today from 2 to 4, just off Overland. Looking forward to seeing you there. Joining us now, Jared Halpern, Fox News Radio, exclusively on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
So the hits just keep on coming. Medicaid, Medicare for all. Sounds good.
This is a hearing that they're doing in the House Ways and Means Committee. It's the second hearing that House Democrats have had on this health care proposal. Notably, this is the first one that's happening in a committee of jurisdiction, the Ways and Means Committee. And I think, what you're seeing in this committee, because this hearing's happening right now, is sort of, fact-finding. What's the pulse of obviously the Democrats are in the majority. Republicans, by and large, are going to oppose any sort of Medicare for all proposal. But Democrats, I think, are still trying to figure out, what approach to take. There are obviously different views, whether you're running for president, whether you're a member of Congress, for how significant, how fast a Medicare for all type proposal should happen. Should there be, some incrementalism in it? Should it? What do you do with private health insurance? There are a lot of different views on health care reform as far as the Democrats are concerned. And so, I don't think that this is a hearing that signals anything's underway, but it is a hearing that signals to the caucus and to voters that it's something that they're talking about, which is obviously something that would not have been talked about when the House was run by Republicans.
Yeah, you're right about that. Here's the other thing that's fascinating is, obviously, it seems to be reflecting what most of the Democratic candidates are talking about on the campaign trail: Medicare, Medicaid for all, one payer, that sort of thing. Does that sound about right?
No, I mean, obviously, this is a conversation that's happening in the Democratic presidential primary, and whoever becomes the nominee sort of becomes the unofficial standard bearer for the party. And so, you may see things change a little bit depending on who gets the nomination. Obviously, some Democrats want a full single-payer type system. Others are advocating for something that's a little bit more of a hybrid system where there would be sort of an option for a public, sort of a buy-in for a public option, or some sort of Medicare for all with the option to keep private health insurance. There are a lot of different proposals out there, as I said, and that's a conversation happening here in Congress. It's a conversation that's happening amongst Democrats. Once these debates start next week, you're certainly going to hear, I think, where some of the candidates are as it relates to a Medicare for all type proposal. And I do think that once, next year when you see a nominee emerge, perhaps that changes the conversation a little bit in Congress, as that nominee then sort of becomes the unofficial standard bearer for where the party is right now.
Indeed. Of course, it comes down to cost. And, Jared, you love Congress. You cover it. It is the blood sport for you. But any talk about the debt and the deficit, or is this just kind of the looming problem that comes up every time the CR is due?
You're talking not outside of Medicare for all, sort of just in general. I mean, they're going to have to pass a debt limit increase. They're going to have to pass a debt limit increase in the coming weeks for the U.S. not to default on its obligations, and that could be that's always a tough vote, right? That's we sort of have a saying on Capitol Hill that you vote no and hope yes. Like, you vote no because you don't want the debt ceiling to increase, from a political standpoint, but the ramifications if it weren't passed would be catastrophic to the U.S. economy. So you hold off on your vote, see if that yes vote's going to be needed. It'll be interesting to see as we move forward now how that's coupled. Do they do that as part of a larger – sometimes they'll attach that. That's been the case both under Republican and Democratic leadership, as you attach some sort of debt limit increase to sort of other must-pass legislation, a CR, a spending bill. Maybe you put it on a disaster relief package, something that's really hard to vote no on, and then sort of, oh, by the way, we're also going to do this as that's happening. But that's definitely something that's going to have to happen sooner rather than later for Congress, and it's never an easy vote, and it's never an easy path to get there. But ultimately, it's usually something that works itself out.
Jared, anything big that Congress is working on this week besides what we talked about?
Well, right now I'm watching this hearing at the House Oversight Committee. They are about to authorize, at least at the committee level, holding Attorney General William Barr and Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross in contempt of Congress. This is unrelated to the Mueller report. This has to do with the investigation about the 2020 census and the addition of a citizenship question to the 2020 census. The Oversight Committee has requested documents about how that decision was handled, who made the decision, what were the deciding factors. The Justice Department has just informed the committee that executive privilege has been asserted, and they will not be getting those documents that they have subpoenaed. So expect this to also end in a court fight in a couple of avenues. One, because in the next couple of weeks, we expect the Supreme Court to actually rule on the constitutionality of including that citizenship question to the census. But then beyond that, regardless of how the Supreme Court may rule, Congress is still going to want to get their hands on the work product, so to speak. And if this contempt resolution moves forward, as it appears to be doing right now, expect that to end up in a federal courthouse as well.
Jared, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure thing.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. Story we first brought you earlier in the week. The Supreme Court passes on the In God We Trust case. Thankfully, U.S. currency will continue to include the words "In God We Trust" after the Supreme Court declined to hear a case challenging the slogan. Don't these people have something better to do in life? The case was brought by atheist activist, good old Michael Newdow. You remember him. He wanted the one nation under God stricken from the Pledge of Allegiance. He's been working on this for many, many years. Atheist Michael Newdow, he's been around for quite some time. Mr. Newdow claimed the phrase is a government endorsement of a religion, and that the phrase "In God We Trust" violates the First Amendment. Well, doesn't the First Amendment give you the right to freely, openly worship? So how in the world could that be a violation? Remember, as we just told you, Newdow had previously sued to remove the phrase "under God" from the Pledge of Allegiance. I sit here and I think to myself, sooner or later you just have something better to do. But Mr. Newdow wants to radically change our currency and the Pledge of Allegiance. Did you know "In God We Trust" was first printed on our currency in 1864? It was added to paper bills in 1955. Now, it's crazy to think that anyone would think the phrase "In God We Trust" violates the separation of church and state. And Newdow, his lawsuits are just plain frivolous, nuisances, ridiculous, right? I mean, what's so wrong with saying "In God We Trust"? Back to the story concerning marijuana and weed. You a boxing fan at all? Remember Mike Tyson? Mike Tyson, the former heavyweight champion of the world, is building a 418-acre marijuana resort in Oregon, in Colorado, in Washington. No, you guessed it, in the state of California. After creating Tyson Holistic, which sells weed-related merchandise and premium marijuana strains, Tyson says building the Desert Hot Springs Resort is the next natural step in his transformation from a slugger to a stoner. Quote, "I thought how much good I could do by helping people with cannabis." Tyson says it's a no-brainer. Now, we don't know the name of it, but many people call it the Wonderland of Weed. Will feature a luxury hotel, a concert venue, the world's longest lazy river, and Tyson University, where aspiring weed farmers can learn the tricks of the trade. Of course, pot will be sold and patrons will be allowed to smoke it whenever, wherever they want on the property. Now, we don't know when this is happening, but yes, this is a serious event. So we have the banks pressuring Senator Crapo. They want to be legalized. They want to deposit their the banks want the marijuana dispensaries to be able to deposit without legal consequences their fruits of the ill-begotten legalization of marijuana, and they want Senator Crapo to make it happen. I don't think Senator Crapo is going to do that, but you heard Tea Party Bob at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, saying banks discriminate against the gun people. Why in the world would they not be allowed to discriminate against the marijuana people? In fact, we should get rid of discrimination. Well, what's next? If I sell meth, will the banks take my meth proceeds? If I sell fentanyl, should the banks be able to take the proceeds? And basically, there's no judgment. There's no standards. It's crazy. This whole legalization of marijuana could be solved with one step by the federal government, and that would be to reinstate the enforcement of the law prohibiting marijuana as a harmless drug, prohibiting the decriminalization. Now, maybe you would have court cases, and if you're a law student, aspiring law student, or a lawyer, it would be good times for you because you could take these cases all the way up to the Supreme Court. And gosh forbid, if the federal law was shut down to be proven unconstitutional, would all of our drug laws be thrown out? It's crazy, the world we're living in here. So at 580-5436, we have Mike Tyson opening up this this resort, kind of like Radical Russ, who sells vacation times and places to people that want to smoke pot in Oregon. And now you've got this issue where Mike Tyson wants to do that, and whether or not banks should recognize the pro-pot people. And, building upon that, we have the situation in Ontario, Oregon, where the weed purveyors want to open up shop. All that and more coming up next before Glenn Beck with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And don't forget, coming up, Lars Larson right after Sean Hannity this afternoon. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Here's another story that is just perplexing. Earlier this week, we first brought you the story of California Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom. And the state Democrats in the previous known Golden State, they reached an agreement that would provide 90,000 low-income illegals residing in California to get health care benefits. Now, where would they get the health care benefits from? Who would be supplying that? Is it the money tree? Is it the country of origin? Is it? No. You're going to love this. It is from the California taxpayers. Now, the agreement here, and I guess we should say this is the thank goodness that we live in Idaho segment of the program on KIDO Talk Radio. Who would it cover? Who would it really cover? Billy, Timmy, and Willie? No, the agreement would be available to those who are low income between the ages of 19 and 25 who permanently reside in the state. We're talking 90,000 illegals would be insured through the California Medicaid program, commonly referred to as Med-Cal or Medi-Cal. Now, when does this kick off? 2020 in January. Fox News reports what really is the poverty level, right? Who's covered? A family of four earning as much as 6 times the federal poverty level. Now, we're not talking about Americans here. We're talking about people that are in the country illegally, right? That are in the country illegally. Would get the benefits. We're talking about a family of four earning $150,000 a year would be eligible to get more than about $100 a month from the government to help pay for their monthly health insurance. Now, they're looking at running this through. But if you're making that much money, wouldn't you, in fact, get your insurance through a job? All of us sit here and think to ourselves, especially when it comes to insurance, when it comes to taking care of one's family, that intrinsic responsibility, that twinge of fear that we have when we go to the doctor and they so lovingly say, not what's wrong with you, but what's your copay. So here we have the state saying to all the Californians, by the way, California has a very challenging budget. Apparently some money's coming in, lots of money coming out. But at 580-5436, if you're not going to give health care, whatever, for American citizens, why would you give it to the people that are here illegally and have the taxpayers of California pay for it? Well, when you talk to somebody from California, this is one of the reasons why they come here to the state of Idaho. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, if I'm a taxpayer, and that's the whole issue involving illegal immigration that many people don't get because they make it personal, they make it emotional, they do all these other things, and then people just sit back and, say that people have rights. Yes. But have you ever been to the hospital and been afraid of your medical bill? Have you ever wondered squeamishly whether or not your insurance is going to fund these programs? Right? And you're paying for other people? You're paying for other people that are not even American citizens to get free health care? Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. And thank you, Jim. Kevin Miller in the morning. Don't forget Computer Central today, 2 to 4. We're going to be there, the Boise Tech Mall, giving away tickets to the Boise Music Festival, just there on Overland. You'll see the big flashing signs, Boise Music Festival tickets. Stop by and see us from 2 to 4. Back to where we are in society today. I think about the whole idea of funding. And Dave Ramsey talks about this all the time when it comes to paying down your debt. You don't, and Dave Ramsey is very brilliant. He says the paid off home is the new BMW. And I wish that were true, and he's right. But when you make that big purchase, you get that instant gratification until, if you're like most of us, all of a sudden what happens next? Well, then you get the payments or the loans, and it adds up, right? And that's what's happening in the state of California. You have many people that have worked hard, have kept their nose to the grindstone, have lived clean, wholesome lives, worked for the state. The state has to fund their pensions. The state should fund their pensions. The state should meet those obligations. That is one issue that's looming, not only California, but the entire country when we're talking about Social Security. Then you have the expansion of social programs like Medicare, Medi-Cal for the illegals. We just simply can't afford it, right? And maybe we think to ourselves, I'm old, I'm grizzled, whatever. Who cares? Do you have kids? Do you like kids? Do you like grandkids? Think of the world that they're inheriting. We've had a good run. Many people want to continue to have a good run. But where is the concern for the future of children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren in Idaho, in the United States of America? And that's the beauty of Donald Trump, is that he understands that we have to take care of our own family, i.e. our own countrymen, i.e. Americans, before anybody else. It's as simple as your home. You take care of your family, your pets, your loved ones. Hopefully before you start taking care of total strangers or people that are breaking the law or people that feel entitled or people that don't want to work, right? We are generous. We are compassionate. We do have unconditional love. But on the other hand, we have a responsibility to our family. And just as we have a responsibility personally to our families, we have a responsibility to our countrymen and women. And we protect that each and every day, each and every morning. Kevin Miller in the morning. Graham I, great job. Glenn Beck is next. God bless everyone.